Hi, welcome to SPR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. It is the Monday after the wildcard round of the NFL playoffs, and we're doing our usual Monday afternoon opening line show with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. And me and Joe got burned on our pick last week in the wildcard round. But overall, Joe's records are 27-17 against the spread in the NFL with us this year. And in the college bowls, he covered 11 with us, 7-4 against the spread in the college bowls. Joe Duffy, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you, Peter, and it's been even better in the bowls on my premium picks.
Really? Tell us how your records has been at your website in the bowl season.
Well, we've hit 8 straight bowl sides. We
Nice.
did file this right before the national championship game, so hopefully we'll close out 9-0. We did close out the year with 6 straight Wise Guy bowl winners.
Wait a minute. You picked 8 bowl winners in a row?
8 bowl sides, 9-2 with the totals. Actually, what happened was New Year's Day, that late Boston College touchdown killed us on the total. We vowed revenge on the bookmakers, and we haven't lost all that much since, and we haven't lost with any side since.
Well, all of our long-term viewers, I'm sure, trust you by now. And again, in our videos, 27-17 against spread in the NFL, 7-4 against spread in the bowl season with us, and that's just solid records all around. Every record you have is either solid or awesome. All right, Joe Duffy, congrats on a good year. Now we got the 4 divisional round playoff games that the lines just opened yesterday, and there's the one game that saw the most movement has been the San Francisco-Carolina game, right? That one opened at San Francisco -2 on the road. Then it went all the way down to Pick'em. Now it's all the way back up to San Francisco -2 again. What do you make of that movement?
Yeah, well, the fact that the 49ers won in pretty impressive fashion, I mean, well, it went down to the wire, but you win on the road, you win in Green Bay, that is impressive in and of itself. I think the Niners are obviously widely thought of to be the most dominant team in the NFC, so that's not really any surprise there, although, obviously Seattle, San Francisco, Denver, New England, they're really the 4 teams that everybody thinks are the favorites to win the Super Bowl. No surprise there, but again, Carolina as a home underdog, They've been on a roll at the end of the year, so that's going to be quite the interesting game, but I'm not surprised that the public bet on San Francisco.
Well, do you think that movement was caused by the public? Because it's kind of weird. I mean, how can Carolina be a home underdog after a week of rest?
Well, there's 2 reasons. The public itself, they always remember what they watched most recently, and as you said, they didn't see Carolina had the bye week. They saw San Francisco go into Green Bay and win that game, and they played extremely well in the victory. And I think, that they started betting the game after they saw the 49ers look impressive. All
right, so where do you think this line is going to close? I have to think it's going to close at, back down at Pick'em, right? I mean,
no, I would agree with you. I think that the odds makers are not going to make any major statement on this game, and I would say a Pick'em is the most likely closing line.
Okay, all right, and then New Orleans at Seattle. Seattle absolutely dominant at home, so no surprise they would be, a huge home favorite here. 8 points is the opening line against New Orleans. What do you make of that line?
Now, that's one where, again, these are 2 of the biggest quote-unquote splits teams in the NFL. Of course, the Cincinnati Bengals were as well. They were a great home team, and they got eliminated. But Seattle is unbelievable at home. We all know about all the publicity about they've set records for the decibel records. I have no doubt about it that the Seattle fans are going to be involved in this entire game. Because of the home-road splits, I do think, if anything, both the public and the sharps are going to continue to bet Seattle and New Orleans. Despite their win at Philadelphia, Saints were a mediocre road team, and I still think the public's not totally sold on Philadelphia, where they had the first-year starting quarterback, Nick Foles, in fact, the guy who wasn't even the starting quarterback at the beginning of the year. Remember, he's a second-year player, but as a respected handicapper who I trust, he called him a redshirt rookie, so to speak. And I don't think all that many people the public in and of itself aren't overly impressed by the fact that the Saints did win in Philadelphia because they don't seem to be sold on Nick Foles, which I don't know why, because Foles has put up ridiculous numbers. But now I do think because of how dominant Seattle's been on the road this year and New Orleans has been so at home, that probably both the public and the sharps will be on Seattle.
So if the public and the sharps are both on Seattle, then you got to figure this one will probably close near 10, maybe even on 10.
Yeah, but remember, 10 is a key number, so it's going to take a lot of money to close it on 10. But yeah, that's a possibility. But I would say at the very least 9.5 minus 120.
All right, and then the Pats open as a touchdown home favorite over Indianapolis, and I don't know, is Indianapolis the kind of team that can at least hang close, if not win this game, despite the fact that the Pats always have the magic and they're at home and they're off of off of the bye?
Yeah, well, obviously, Andrew Luck in 2 years has developed the reputation of being Mr. Comeback Kid. And again, New England, again, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. But remember, he doesn't have a whole lot of weapons. New England was really starting to look like they would be the Super Bowl favorites until Gronkowski got hurt. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some sharp movement on Indianapolis, if anything else, because I think the way that Luck continues to play in the second half and the fourth quarter, the back door is going to be wide open, and it could be a case where the favorite wins but does not cover. But I really think that the public is going to have a tough time thinking that Andrew Luck is incapable of coming from behind.
Yeah, I mean, when we're analyzing these lines, we're basically weighing two things. We're weighing, the huge amount of points that we're going to have to lay if you take the home team. But if you take the road team, then, you're taking a team, on the road, playing a team that's had the break. And how much of a boost should we give these teams that are off the bye?
Well, it used to be 10 years ago, right around the turn of the century, betting on the rest of teams was as close to a lock as you're going to get. And that is both straight up and against the spread. But in recent years, it hasn't necessarily been that case. And I think in part because, injuries play such a big factor. And the games become less predictable, which means the underdogs are more likely to win outright. But no, if you were asking me that same question about a dozen years ago or 10 years ago, I would say a ton of weight. But recent history suggests not. Remember, we've had now wildcard teams that have gone and won the Super Bowl. So for a wildcard team to now go to the Super Bowl, it's no longer uncommon. Right. Historically, it was the 1 year where the Raiders played the Eagles back in, what was that, 82, I guess. But since then, we've seen a lot of wildcard teams actually go to the Super Bowl, and we've even seen teams that don't even make the playoffs until the final day, for example, the New York Giants, and then go on to win the Super Bowl.
Right. And then the fourth game has, the biggest line of the four games, Denver -10 at home against San Diego. Is San Diego the team of destiny here? Are they maybe even going to be have a decent shot at pulling out the win here? And are they maybe a great bet at +10?
Well, I will say this. Sharps still know that Peyton Manning is the greatest regular season quarterback maybe ever. But in the postseason, he's come up short quite a few times. And what do we always say about Phillip Rivers? Predictably unpredictable. He's most dangerous when getting a ton of points. I would expect the sharp money to certainly come in on the underdog. And remember, especially, it's too early in the week to look at the weather forecast. But if it's cold in Denver, 90% of the game's half mental. Too much has been made of Peyton Manning not being a good cold weather quarterback. But anytime you look at those cold weather records, it's always obviously great quarterbacks who played a majority of their home games in cold weather cities who have the great records. When you spend, most of your career in Indianapolis, you're not going to have a great cold weather record. But I do think if it is very cold, even the public may get to the point where they're going to bet against Peyton Manning. But I do think that the sharps are most likely going to take the points.
All right. Well, thanks so much for your thoughts on these opening lines. Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. And we'll talk to you again later this week more in depth about some of these games.
All right. Thank you, Peter.